And now, to honor America, please join in the singing of our national anthem. Representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, Arlette.
I feel like I'm at a game. Oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Happy Devils Sunday. This is the Let's Go Devils podcast, season 3, episode 47, titled Out of This World. We apologize for the delay. I know a lot of people have been asking, where are we? But we're here now. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Beer Baron, Shorts Guy, and Scotty. How you doing, Scotty?
I'm doing good, Sam Wu. I'm good that I'm here with you. That's what I'm excited about.
You know, I'm excited to be here with you guys every Sunday.
Agreed.
I agree as well.
Hey, listen, you know, I love the what you did in the beginning of the show, Sam. I love the quotes that you had put up from Connor Carrick and Kyle Palmieri. And I just want to speak about this just for a second. What's going on right now is it's terrible. It's a tragedy, you know, and we can all agree on that. And it breaks your heart to see that people in this country are still treated unfairly. And I don't want to, you know, sit here and stand on a soapbox and try to say how we should feel or how you should feel or what anything is going on in the world. But I will tell you this, like, just speaking from my heart, I hope that one day we could all stand around and everything, I don't know, find peace. You know what I mean? Peace, love, and positivity. I know Scotty kind of jokingly called me a hippie for saying that, but it's true. You know, peace, love, and positivity. It's the one thing that I try to preach to my own kids, understanding, embracing everybody, all the things that make us unique are the things that all the things that make us different are the things that make us unique. And those are the things that we should embrace. You know, I mean, even if it's a Ranger fan, you know, we jokingly say on this podcast all the time, like, oh, I hate the Rangers and I hate this person. We don't actually really hate them. No. We just don't like the team that they root for. You know what I mean? So no matter what, you know, I love you guys here. I love everybody that's listening. Thank you, everybody, for always supporting us. And we just want to say that, you know, peace shall prevail, right? I don't know. I know I'm rambling, so
No,
I apologize. I'm trying to say this in the most eloquent way I can, and I'm like,
yes,
sound like I have.
Yes,
Beer Baron, you said it best. Just to let all the viewers and listeners know, this is why we were late. because we wanted to get it right, because we care. We absolutely care. Some of our conversations that was behind the scenes before this podcast started, I actually got a little teary-eyed because what's happening out there is sad. But we are going to do our best to be inclusive because that's who we are. We always been inclusive. We never try to alienate any Devils fan. And, going back to the Rangers thing that you were saying, Beer Baron, I remember after 9/11, we were all hugging the Ranger fans preseason that moment. It goes beyond hockey. There's there. So, I'm seeing some of the comments, respect, Daniel, Kevin has a question and, about focus on hockey. It's hard to focus on hockey,
Yeah. Well, Kevin asked us, like, how do we feel about people commenting on the Devils accounts and stuff like that, just focused on hockey, because the Devils have been very boisterous about all this stuff. And they've been really putting out a very a strong message as well. And for anybody that's just saying, just focus on hockey, you're missing the point. You're missing the point of what's happening right now. You're missing the point of there needs to be change, man. There just needs to be change. And I'm not saying, listen, I know we talked about this too. I know we're not here to like distract or like move past, or we don't want to do. We will talk about hockey. We will be talking about the Devils, and we're going to be talking about some fun things too. But I just had to get that out there. I'm sorry. Just man.
Yeah.
No,
Beer
Baron. It was very well said. I struggle for words, and I just think everyone. What I told my kids. Ask yourself if you listen to the person next to you, to your neighbor, and if you don't listen, what you should be doing is you should become an active listener. And instead of going into a conversation or into a situation with a closed mind and your mind made up, be willing to have that openness to where you may want to change your opinion, or you may change your opinion, and you may have a conversation and no opinions are changed, and then have the respect to walk away from that conversation without escalating it into an issue. But you said it very much better than I did, and I feel like I haven't even said anything noteworthy, but just I think we all need to become better active listeners and willing to, to stand with people to make change, which obviously needs to happen.
That's right.
One of the great things about this podcast is 4 guys at a bar now. Used to be 4 guys at a bar. We listen to each other. We may have a difference of opinions where it's like, should Jack Hughes be on this line, or should they fire this guy, or whatever. But one of the cool things about having dialogue is we're not spitting out some memo or some talking points. We talk how we feel, and today this is how we feel. And we didn't want to make it up. We didn't want to go up. As a matter of fact, I thought our conversation before this podcast started was probably one of the best conversations I've heard on this whole subject together. But the fact that the Devils are in Newark, and remember when they said it couldn't work? It did.
Mm-hmm.
And the Devils have been there for a while now. And look at the people I'll tell you what, some of the people that work at the Prudential Center, like Dancing Earl and others, or Jimmy, the security guard.
Yep, I was just thinking Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy.
One of the nicest dudes.
They opened up their arms, their communities, and I always tell people, hey, I'd rather be in Newark than in New York, and the food at the Ironbound, and you're talking about a mix of cultures, just a melting pot. And
that's what's awesome. Yeah. And we're one big family, and that's one thing that sports will always unite everybody in a sense of or even like just it's like it doesn't matter who you are or where you're from or what race or religion or whatever you believe in. Like we're all equal, man. Like and especially like when you're rooting for the same team. One of my favorite things to do in the world is when you're standing in the crowd and you just look around and you see all sorts of different people. And when your team wins, I'll never forget 2012. I think I hugged more random strangers when the Devils beat the Rangers in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. I hugged. I didn't matter who you were. I didn't care. And I never cared, but I was like running up to people and just grabbing them. I'm like, yeah, we did it. We did it. And I mean, like, and they reciprocated it right back because it's, we're a family, man. And that's what it should be about.
Yeah. And Arlette, we love Arlette. When she sings the national anthem, it gets you all fired up for a hockey game. She has her beautiful voice, and again, it's who we are, and we stand for what's right, and I know the Devils are putting out content out there right now, reflecting that, and good for the organization. But sometimes, again, yes, we talk hockey. PK Subban made a donation. The NHL matched it as well after one phone call. So, but yeah, and again, it's hard to talk about it. Trust me, it is. But this is how we feel, and this is who we are. And we are very inclusive from day one when we started this podcast. We never tried to alienate anybody, and we never tried to,
Hey, we had a Ranger fan on the podcast last week, for crying out loud. If that doesn't say we're inclusive, not to make light, and I'm not trying to make light of anything. I also try to deal with things with humor. So pardon me
I'm the same way. I'm the same way.
That's how I've always been my entire life. Like, tragedy happens and bad things are going on in the world, and I look towards humor as a way to heal, and that's just how I am. Scotty, I feel bad. We've been jumping every time you look like you're about to approach the microphone. We jump you.
Nope. No. It's I think you guys hit everything on the head. Some of the themes of everything you said. I'm not going to go through it all again, but change, listening, being better. And before we went on today, actually, Scott was, Beer Baron here was going through his story, and it was actually a very, very, beautiful metaphor, because he was telling all that about his lesson plan with his students and the little kids, and teaching them from when they are young to be together. And that was the whole point of it. And I just want to say, yes, that story was very touching. And as Sam mentioned, you were talking just before, you told it oh so beautifully. So I'll stick with that.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, though, last week when we had Phil Pritchard on, like how we had Doc Emmerich on.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was at the heart and the heat of the moment, what was going on in the outside world. To have Phil Pritchard on, it was kind of like after that podcast, I mean, we were all smiling, but at the same time, you're thinking about what's going on. But for those almost 2 hours, I realized that it will heal, and over time, things will get better. But we have a lot of work to do, right? So, but hearing those Stanley Cup stories, what was it? Being in Germany, I think he talked about the goat that licked the Stanley Cup or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Scotty, you missed some good stories.
Yeah, man,
sorry, Scotty.
The stories were good last week. It was a good time. And Scotty, you haven't heard yet, but we had a personal invite from Phil to join him on a personal tour of the Hall of Fame.
Oh, of Toronto, right? I did. I caught a little bit of the old podcast. If you ever want to see an old podcast, you can go to the Facebook page there. They're all like, woo, woo, woo. You can scroll through, find your favorite episodes of Beer Baron saying something funny, or at least, that he claims is funny. He may think it's funny. Isn't actually funny, but whatever, But exactly. I saw that, and I would definitely, so let's say we should make a big road trip eventually to Minnesota for pontoon boat with for Chico, right? And then off to Toronto for the Hall of Fame with Phil.
Well, Sammy and I were planning that out today.
Yeah, we were actually thinking about taking an RV to see Chico out in Minnesota, and maybe
right.
do a podcast off his
Oh
boat.
man,
Oh yeah.
I want to get if we get an RV. I just want to have that line from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Well, there's an RV.
There's an RV.
Yeah,
I mean, it's funny. Like, I love one of the things that people don't understand is like this is how like a normal conversation works with us. Is like it can go from we can have very serious and very in-depth conversations. And before, Scotty, I wasn't trying to make fun of the fact that you called me a hippie. I know you thought that what I was saying was very serious and you took it that way.
Well, I actually, what it was is I called you John Lennon, king of all hippies, a la Eric Cartman from South Park. So I just want to clarify all that. So yeah.
But yeah,
But on a
honestly,
serious level, yes.
Yes. Yes. And then like we could switch gears and you know, we were also talking a little bit about like what the future holds, and not just like with the state of the world or the state of the country, but more importantly, well, not more importantly, don't get me wrong on that. But with the Devils for what we talk about. So the whole reason that this podcast exists is for our favorite team in New Jersey, right? So we were talking about what possibilities could happen, you know, whenever the season resumes. Obviously, the Devils are not going to be a part of this 24-team playoff, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And it is what it is. You know what? It just
not
Sam said it the best.
Party.
Not invited to the party, but you know what? That just means we can get in better shape. So next time I won't be showing up with a beer gut. I'll have a nice 6-pack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a fresh haircut that's not a quarantine cut. But
you know what
honestly,
we need to do? You know what we need to do? We sometime during the summer, Tavern. We gotta have another party at
Tavern on the Rocks.
Tavern on the Rocks.
Rockaway,
New Jersey, on 9 Wall Street. You know, maybe we'll boo the Ranger fans. I don't know. We got to do something. You know, it's been a while since we
could do a Blades of Steel tournament.
Yeah, we could do that.
Ooh, that.
Let's ask.
I have. Hey, listen. I have the equipment to do that.
Steel.
So
yeah,
I get the Retro Pi fired up, and then we'll have maybe an NHL '94 tourney.
Yeah,
we could do that.
That'd be pretty sweet.
You know what? That would be great. We do an NHL '94 tournament. We have organist Pete playing all the music in the background live. The crowd.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah,
so I see Kevin in the Facebook group. He said this is time to regroup and learn from the past. And the issue now is who will be the next coach. So we had a very good conversation. I think that was the week before we had Phil on. We were talking about with Chico, and we were talking about the coach, and he said something that really stuck out to me, which was about how Alain Nazardine has done with the team in a short amount of time. And he said that he's a player's coach, and that the players really respect him. And he could see that how the team was kind of turning. So I would be total. I know people want Gallant and they want like a flashy name. Flashy names don't automatically get you a Stanley Cup. Look at what happened in Toronto. Mike Babcock. You know, they thought he was going to come in and bam, Toronto was going to win their cup. Didn't happen.
Yeah,
they got a cup. It wasn't the one they wanted though.
Shots fired. Yeah.
Their soccer team won a cup before Toronto, but before the Maple Leafs did at least in the 2000s. Anyway, I think before you select a coach, you have to solidify who your GM is, and they have to make their decision on fits, yes or no, because the last thing you want to do is sign Nazardine to a long-term deal, and then hire someone in place of Fitz and come in and say, well, this is not the guy I want. You know, then you're going to have instant strife and, you know, possible disagreement right away. And you could have a disagreement between ownership and GM and head coach. So your first piece of the puzzle is GM, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And then that new GM is more than welcome to do all the research on Nasruddin and what Nasruddin has done in his body of work. But the other thing, too, we talked about with Chico, both for Fitz and for Naz, is their last little window of opportunity to show what they could and were doing disappeared. So now you have to make a judgment call, ownership-wise. Do you look at what they've done? Do you consider what the potential could have been? Do you say, well, you didn't get the fair shake, and here's your opportunity? There's just so much to figure out that I don't know. I'm glad I'm not making those decisions. And I've said that, and that's kind of punting on my end. But there's just so much that there's.
I always love that. I always love that term.
I love when people say that.
I'm gonna
punt that one right out of there.
I'm going to punt on this one because I don't know the conversations that happen in the locker room. I don't know the conversation that happened in the boardroom. I don't know the conversations between Fitz and Naz and ownership. And if you really want to make a good informed decision, we're trying to make a decision from outside, and we don't see what's inside. So,
and that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem is like we're only privy to what we can find out through media outlets or Twitter or whatever. And even if we have somebody on the inside, they're not really going to talk about the most inner sanctions of like those conversations that happen between players. No, nor should they. That should be something that's kept behind closed doors, and that should be something that we can speculate about because you don't want to see the magic. Once the magician reveals how they make somebody disappear, then it sucks. Then you don't want to see it anymore. So like once they take all the smoke and mirrors away of like how they make all those things happen behind the scenes, like, yeah, there's some people that are like, man, I want to know. And I'm like, yeah, sure. That'd be a cool conversation to have or like to find out what happened here, what happened there. But at the same time, like, do we really need to know the conversation that happened that led to the firing of John Hines? No. Or as much as we might want to know why Ray Shero got fired because it seemed like he was doing an okay job, like what happened there with management? No, I mean, like, whatever, dude. Like, it happens. And now we're in a situation where Fitz has been doing a good enough job, right? Where that's what it seems to us. Naz has been doing a good enough job. So just roll with those guys. Roll with these guys so you don't have... Do you remember what happened to Zach Parisi in the beginning of his career? It was like a different coach every year. He had the same GM, but it was a different coach like every year, right? You don't want to end up in that situation where you're changing over all these things back and forth and you're putting turmoil in Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes' early career.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they did. I mean, didn't they have that was Sutter, right? Wasn't that what? How long was he there? Was he there like 2 years?
2 years.
Did he say 3? When did he leave and get all mad and went back right to the minor league team?
Red Deer.
To Red Deer that he owned.
Yeah, Red Deer.
Yeah.
Owned or
Right.
owns.
Man. It just always looked like he was just like mad at the world.
I've always wanted
like those post-game interviews. Oh man.
I've always wanted to bug the Devils, like put a bug on their phones and listen into the conversations.
Are you guys going to get a ham sandwich or do you want to, we're going to fire Ray. Do you want chips with that too? Or they got to like do something where they're like, I think we're being bugged. So they have to have a conversation next to like the laundromat and turn on
Do you know what I
want to
know? Do you know what I want to know? Remember when the old ownership group, before the new ownership group, the current ownership group bought it, there was this story, there was this lawsuit. The previous Devils president is a Rich Keswick or something like that. He sued the Devils and Lamoriello because allegedly when everybody got fired, Lamoriello, took out a seat and sat down and laughed at everybody as they were walking by. You remember that story? Like, I want to know. I want to know if that's actually true. Yeah, I want to know that's true. And then, but obviously it's not, because in the lawsuit, I remember reading, it was a Greg Wyshynski. He called Lamoriello his arch nemesis. And it's like, who puts that in a freaking lawsuit? Arch nemesis.
Who does? Who does that? A genius does that. Everybody needs at least one arch nemesis.
Apparently, Lou went into all staff meetings dressed as the Joker.
Yeah. I'm going to show you a magic trick.
Yeah.
How do you make a
Ta-da! I don't know, dude.
So basically, what you're saying is you punted on that question as well, right, Scott? That was the
essentially, yeah. I was just dancing around it. I ran full speed in a complete circle around it, and then just walked away from it. And hey, by the way, somebody asked for a shout out, and I believe it's a Ranger fan too. But we'll say what's up. Talking about embracing everybody for their unique qualities and possibly not liking the right team. But what's up, Jalen? There you go. There's your shout out.
Here you go.
There's a shout out.
That's a shout out. That's a good shout
it works.
out. I didn't say, get out of here. You don't like the right team. That's not good. But listen, I will say this. As far as it goes to, what's going to happen in the offseason, we have the draft coming up. We have to, and I know, Sam, you said you could speak to this about what's happening with the conditional picks. But before we get to you explaining that to us, there's
Did you say that,
Jack
Sam?
Eichel. He did say that right before we went live.
He did, yes.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot, pal.
Pillar of information, Sam. All of a sudden, you see him just start typing really quick,
Wikipedia, Google, come on.
Yeah. What's with this onside kick that you're doing?
Yeah. I can't believe you're doing a backward lateral. Anyways, there's a story about Jack Eichel, and he's not too happy in Buffalo. I don't think he's been happy from the moment that he got drafted by Buffalo. But Jack Eichel supposedly has, I don't know if he's requested a formal trade or if he's, I don't know how you say that, formally requested a trade.
But put in for a trade.
The strong rumor is that he's just done. He's like, you know what, I'm out. Just get me out of here. Mm-hmm. What it would take for the Devils to get him would be insane, and this is going to lead into Sam knowing what's going on. If the Devils got all three of those first round picks, could they package two of those first round picks and possibly? I know this might not be popular, but Jesper Bratt or Boquist, and send them over in a deal to get Jack Eichel. And would you want Jack Eichel? Don't you dare say that. How dare you?
All right. Let me try.
I heard they said Mike McLeod would be the topping piece. They were just waiting for that.
And you know what would happen? He would go to Buffalo. He would go to Buffalo and become like a 60-goal scorer.
Probably.
Everybody be like, man, I can't believe we traded that guy. And I'd be like, I told you.
All right, go ahead, Sam. What were you gonna tell us?
So those three first round draft picks, you got the Devils pick, which is a lottery pick somewhere. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's guaranteed. Mm-hmm. The Taylor Hall situation, yes, Arizona. There are conditions, right?
Yes.
I believe the conditions are that New Jersey Devils fans should be rooting for Arizona to quote or not.
No, we do not want Arizona to. Yeah, we want Arizona to be punted out of the first. Out of the first, whatever round this is of this thing.
So because the first round robin, the first round robin is not considered a playoff game, correct?
No, I don't believe so.
It's
not a playoff game. That's not a playoff game.
It's not a playoff game. It's to get into the playoffs.
Yes.
Right. So it is playoff games. If you don't win that series, then you're done.
It's a short series. It's a playing series.
If you're literal, yeah.
It's like a 5-game season, basically.
It's basically teams on the bubble before the pause trying to get into the playoffs, even though it really is a playoff, best of 5, correct? So, so basically, but the Arizona pick.
The Arizona pick can't be a top 3. If it's a top 3, then it changes to next
correct.
year. That's what Joe Stanislaw, our good man, on the old Facebook group.
Oh, hey, old Stanislaw.
Jersey Joe.
Hey, Joey Stans.
I remember that was one of the conditions. Joey Stans. How you doing, Joe?
Hey,
Jay
Joey
Stans.
What you doing?
So that was one of the conditions with the Taylor Hall pick is that it can't be a lottery pick. It can't be a top 3.
Right.
Correct.
So,
and then the Vancouver one via Tampa Bay, which was the Blake Coleman trade.
Hell of a trade.
We're rooting for Vancouver to win that round robin to get into the playoffs, so we can get the 2020 pick versus 2021, which is a weaker first round draft. So, with that said, to trade for Eichel really depends on do the Devils really have 3 picks or not? The worst case scenario. The
facts.
Yeah, but the worst case scenario is the Devils only have 1 pick, and Arizona.
But then next year we have 3. So that's
you want your
caveats
pick
to that.
2020.
You want them this
year.
This
draft
understood.
Yeah.
2020 is a better year.
Understood, but at the same time, like the downside to it is you get the 3 picks in the first round next year, and that's kind of okay too. Like yes, you want them in this draft, but at the same time, like so talking about Jack Eichel or any kind of superstar, because you could package those picks up and get a superstar, right? You could go to a team that's really close to the ceiling, and what's happened with this whole shutdown is going to affect the overall cap of the NHL next year. Am I right or wrong about that?
Well, first off, too, with Jack Eichel, I just want to say he's trying to get out of Buffalo. Why the hell would he want to come to the Devils right now? We're nowhere near
because
anything, why would he want to come to us right now? Yeah, but he could go probably somewhere out west, man. Imagine if Colorado swings a deal. Anyone swings a deal for him. It's like a major blockbuster deal. But why would he want to come to the Devils? He would have to do the same thing and face another couple years of rebuilding. I mean, Buffalo might be a little bit, a little bit more behind us, but not that far.
Well, you could take a look at this way with a deep draft a forward, defense, and a goalie in a deep draft.
Ooh. If you get all 3 of those first round picks, you could essentially draft a stud defenseman you realize the Devils, there's a good chance that they're going to get a top 5 to
we
6,
want those 3
right?
picks, man. We want those 3 picks this year in that first round. Any way we can get that, hell yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Or
so you could imagine if they win the lottery again.
Man, that'd be wild.
So I'm saying they should call Ray.
Have
Ray
Nico Heischer
come in for the lottery. He's really good luck with this lottery stuff. He's won it twice.
We're missing the real key to the luck with the draft lottery, and that's Taylor Hall. We traded him. He was the
which means Arizona's going to win a goddamn draft lottery.
Yeah, pretty much. We lost our good luck charm,
and then we'll lose that pick for this year. Thanks, Taylor.
Right.
Taylor.
Pork roll.
Pork roll hall.
Pork roll hall. Anybody from New Jersey would realize that's a very big insult. Dude, honestly,
kind of on a personal note with that, I was down the shore 2 weeks ago and I ordered a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese at one of the local places down in Wildwood, and the woman had no idea what I was talking about. She confirmed, she's like, "You mean?" Yeah, exactly. And I was like, "Yeah, Taylor ham." And then I kind of quick ended the transaction, hung up the phone so I can just go pick it up. Anyway, sorry, had to say that.
She probably got off the phone and was like, "This Maradada just ordered tail of ham.
Yeah, probably.
How dare you?"
Oh man.
So,
But-
thinking. Go ahead, Scott.
Go ahead.
Go-
No. Go
no.
ahead.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Sam. Sam, anybody? No.
Sam?
Okay, I'll take it.
Sam?
So,
Oh, you want me to go?
also, we have Foot. We have Foot from that trade for
All
for Blake Coleman. I'm not.
Uh-huh.
We have Foot. We have Foot for that that we got in that trade for Blake Coleman. We have Big Baller that we got in the trade for Taylor Hall. So we have some pretty good, solid prospects. And I was reading somewhere recently that the Devils are ranked within the top 3 or 4 with prospects in their system. Which leads me all the way back to this question of like, why did we get rid of, Ray Shero, and like what the heck happened with that whole situation? And I lied a little bit because before I said I don't want to know what happened in that conversation. That's actually one conversation I do want to know about.
That's why we need to get a bug. We need a bug in there.
We need to get a guy with one of those big foam cowboy hats with the camera in it from like The Simpsons. You know what I'm talking about?
You'll never know.
30-pound camera.
I want to see like Sam Wu, Donnie Brasco style, where he's like climbing up there, like to like actually put a microphone down like a light, or something like that, and really hiding it.
Uh-oh.
There you go. What you guys don't realize is the eyes of that hat are both cameras. And the reason why they point in different directions is so you can cover more of an area. And then we transmit through those. I'm giving away all of our secrets. What am I doing?
Yeah, we might want to not give them all away.
Yeah. Did you talk to the moose in the front, sir? He would have told you that the park is closed. Anyways. It's a National Lampoon's type of day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We should,
Wow.
Speaking of moose, we should all go to the Rebecca Morse's game when the NWHL resumes. Next season. We have to support her. She's a big friend of the podcast.
Yeah,
I just had a
Rebecca
thought.
Morse.
I just had a thought. Maybe we can do a combination here. Our Minnesota trip with Chico, and then go up to Toronto to watch the Moose play against the new Toronto team.
Okay.
Then all of us go to the Hall and do the tour with Phil.
And then have a live podcast in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And on Chico's boat.
Because he said both, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because Phil did say we could do a live podcast from the Hall. Just putting it on. I'm just saying.
That'd be wild.
We'll do it right in front of Marty's little section. I know he's got his. I see. I'm dying to go. I've never been. Scotty, have you ever been?
I have not. I have never been to Toronto in general, so I have love to there.
I have a lot of family up in Toronto.
You've been to the Hall?
Okay.
About 3 or 4 times, yeah. So it's actually in a mall. It's pretty small. It's like to the side of the mall.
It's an old bank, right?
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was there with Scott Stevens' induction. Well, I didn't get in, but I was there. I was roaming around Toronto. It's a lot of artifacts. It's pretty cool.
And that's the stuff
It's a really
I love,
cool place.
man. I just want to go there to like see a hockey stick that's made out of like a tree that somebody chopped down, like the movie The Natural. This is Gordie Howe's original stick. It was made from a spruce that he just chopped down in the back of his yard. And I'm like, "Why are you from Boston? We're in Toronto." And the guy goes, "I don't know. I just work here." And then we walk away. That's the whole scenario that I just built in my head.
Does he put a Sam Adams down after that and say like, "Hey, I bought a Boston Lager"?
He's like, "I don't even work here. I just hang out and I tell you facts about all the things you see." And then he goes, "Bobby Orr forever," and then he runs away.
Our buddy Eric was saying. I was saying our buddy Eric on the Facebook page says Hall of Fame is a must. It was a bank, and our man Ryan went to Marty's induction up there.
Ryan the man.
That's pretty cool. Nice. Ryan is the man for that. That's a hell of a trip. Unless you live up there in Toronto, then it makes sense.
Then you're just walking down the street.
I actually wanted to go to Marty's induction wearing my goalie gear, but I couldn't get a seat. I couldn't get a ticket. I begged Hugh Weber for that, but he said that unfortunately there's nothing he can do. It's like, come on, Hugh, you can't sneak me in.
It'd
be real hard to
goalie
sneak in.
gear.
Full goalie gear, yeah.
You can't just sneak this guy in wearing
no,
full equipment.
No, it was full Martin Brodeur gear. We could have played it off as one of the new mannequins for the display just showed up. Showed up late. Got to wheel it in.
You just stand like this the whole
on
time.
a hand truck. On a hand truck wrapped in bubble wrap.
And then
like
you know
that
what happens is
mannequin
somebody's
movie?
like,
Back in the day,
Yeah.
except it's Sam Wood.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
I'm pretty
Like
sure that
Judge
mannequin just
Reinhold
farted.
driving you around. Yeah.
Play that band Starship. Is it Starship?
Yeah.
Or...
Yeah.
Nothing's going to stop us now.
Or nothing. Yeah.
Nothing. Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
That's what I love. We've gone way off the rails.
Yeah.
It's a normal
Actually,
weekend for us.
Who am I missing here? I'll just throw this at you guys. Just real quick thing. I was just thinking before because I was trying to read up about the draft and stuff, and then I just started thinking about Devils' past draft picks, and I'm like, who are the best Devils draft picks of all time? And obviously, a couple of them are
Scott
pretty easy.
Niedermayer,
or
Brendan Shanahan,
Marty.
how about, there you
Martin
go. Thank you,
Brodeur.
short guy. Yeah. So that's my
Come
question.
on. I'm instantly going to go to Marty.
Obviously he's number one. So right here, number 30, number one. I have a very hard time, even though it's like a whatever debate. But who is number two and who is number three? Number 26 or number 27?
As a Devil, or like overall, because there's been some pretty incredible. Well, there's been some pretty incredible guys that have gone through the system that were drafted by the Devils and didn't necessarily.
Better than Patrick Elias or Scott Niedermayer?
Brendan Shanahan had some pretty amazing numbers as compared to Patrick Elias. Patrick Elias is my all-time favorite Devil. All-time favorite Devil. I have more of his jerseys than I have anybody else. I think one would be Brodeur, two would be Niedermayer, and then after that, it starts to get a little bit debatable because number three could be Shanahan. In fact, hey, let's open this up to the Facebook group. Everybody on Facebook group, or Twitter, or Periscope, or Twitch, or
YouTube.
Or YouTube. Who do you think? Let's do the top five. I don't want to do the Mount Rushmore because I hate that stuff. Like, who's the Mount Rushmore? Because that could be interchangeable. So
I think
if
it's
you
Brendan Shanahan. I think Brendan Shanahan. It has to be.
is number
if he
three.
If he didn't go to St. Louis, Scott Stevens would have never came here in compensation.
Well, and not just that, his career, even though he played for that other team across the river that we don't like, all things considering, his career and his career totals are relatively impressive. And I'd have to sit down.
Okay.
Somebody bring me the stats. What are Eliash's stats stacked up against Brendan Shanahan's stats? I don't think they compare at all. But you have to go number one, Marty, number two, Niedermayer easily, because Niedermayer was probably one of the best defense. He was a defenseman ahead of his time, and Chico Resch was saying that, and he was saying like how good Scott Niedermayer was, and imagine how good he would be in today's game. You could take him from 1994 and 1995, pluck him out of that season, and drop him into the NHL now, and he would dominate as a defenseman.
Shanahan's got over 600. All right, I'll go with Shanny then. I didn't realize he had.
Thank
he
you.
had 656
Kirk
goals.
Muller.
I didn't realize that. Well, Muller, I have on my
could be number four.
Here's the list that I have going. I just jotted off the top of my head. So I had Brodeur.
Stevens
then I had Elias.
Stevens was not a Devil's pick.
No,
Sorry,
of course not.
Just saw that.
Can I say my list before you start?
Yeah, go.
In my mouth over here. Jeez. I know Scott Stevens. Come on, Brodeur. Then I had Elias Niedermayer, Dano, Gomez, Muller, Parise, Breland, and then I just kind of stopped. I moved on to something else. Those are the ones that I got, like just thinking off the top of my head.
Then a squirrel ran by and I got distracted by a shiny car and I didn't know what to do with myself.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
who else am I missing in this?
Parisi would be high up on that list just because where his career stats are right now, what he's been able to accomplish. There's
Never won a cup.
Never won a cup.
What am I seeing? A timeout over here. Sam,
what do you got, Sam?
Bill Guerin.
This is how impactful that Brendan Shanahan trade is, because got Scott Stevens, right? St. Louis tampered to get Scott Stevens back, which eventually became swapped picks in 2003 to move up to get Zach Parisi. It was the gift that kept on giving.
Okay.
So maybe he's not the best draftee, but had the most impact with those chain of events by going to St. Louis. And the Devils getting compensation back, Scott Stevens, who actually did not want to be here in the beginning.
Nope.
That's right.
No, he didn't.
That's right.
And he almost left. And he came darn close to leaving.
And Ryan Mann just hit his back. Brodeur needs Shanny, Eliash, Parisi.
I see. Okay. Here's another. Go
ahead.
Here's another question: Is do you think? And I'm biased, 100% biased about this question. Do you think Patrick
Mikey
Elias
McLeod is not on the list?
Do you think Patrick Elias should be inducted into the Hall of Fame? And my answer is unequivocally yes. He's got stats that could stack up to the Hall of Fame. He's got 2 cups to his name. If he didn't lose a good portion of his career to hepatitis and lockouts and other illness and injuries, he would have a hell of a lot more in goals and assists than he does. But I believe Elias is a Hall of Famer. And I wish I had one of those tables where like I'd sit down and be like that banner in the front. Elias is a Hall of Famer. Prove me wrong or convince me otherwise.
We can make that. We can Photoshop that.
How about this? Sergei Brylin having his jersey retired.
100%.
Yes,
100%.
I agree with that.
100%. I thought for the longest time John McClain should have his jersey retired too.
I think he eventually will once the stain of his coaching experience with us is gone completely.
Yeah,
I think down the road, and I have a feeling that all these players we're talking about that don't have their numbers retired now, we're going to wind up doing what the Rangers have done in about 40 years. We're just going to start, retiring these guys.
Retire the entire 1994 team.
Yeah, pretty much. So,
Cowboy number 45.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to end up doing that. I mean, not that, and I'm not saying that these guys don't deserve it, but I have a feeling the Devils are just going to, at some point, they're going to start retiring in bulk, retiring numbers. Once, I think John McClain absolutely once a few more years goes by and the stain of that coaching debacle is gone.
Whoa. Ryan, man, unpopular opinion, but no, I don't think Brylin should be. Let me tell you something about Sergei Brylin. I heard this story once.
Class act.
Him playing in the USSR, okay? The story about he had to reuse his hockey tape because in order to play. Like how he got to the United States to play professional hockey. I mean, he was reusing or putting wooden sticks together so he can play because there's just no supply out there, or they were too poor. I don't know what the issue was, but some of the stories, or Alexander McGillney. Do you know why his jersey number is number 89? Do you guys know that story?
No. I would like you to tell.
I heard it. But tell it.
That was the year he came to the United States.
Oh, wow.
1989. Yeah,
that's cool.
Because remember, Lou did not allow numbers past 40. But for that, that's exceptional.
Doug Gilmour.
Well,
there were exceptions to that.
Gilmour. Yeah, there was always an exception. There were a few.
Yogs.
Doug Gilmour, 93, and that was always a trivia question for the longest time. Actually, it still is. Who holds the highest number ever worn by a Devil is Doug Gilmour, 93.
Yeah,
Wait, was
Or
Yager here?
no, Nikita Gusev. I'm sorry, Gusev,
97. Now, well, that's changed this year. Yeah, that's how much we've forgotten
God,
about
and
the
that's
season. Yeah, 97.
And I hope
and then
I hope Gusev gets re-signed for a couple, extend his contract already. Would you, Fitzgerald? Would you do that for me already? For crying! Would you get off your duff and get on that thing and just sign him?
You know, I just the one thing that I hope that this whole issue with the pandemic and the shortening of the season, I really hope we don't go into any major labor issues. Like if you look at the optics for Major League Baseball right now, it just looks
terrible.
on the outside. It looks awful, and baseball has rebuilt itself, twice now from 2 strikes, and here they are. They're haggling over. I love going to a Mets game. I think it's a great time, but there is no other sport that's meant for social distancing than baseball. They can absolutely play that, but the way those players are arguing, it's very upsetting.
It's embarrassing.
And I hope that the NHL doesn't do that. MLS almost had some CBA negotiation issues in the middle of all this, and that was almost going to be a disaster. I just hope when they go, and the CBA ends in 2022. So I really hope that the owners don't start crying poor when the CBA comes around because of this and turn it into something. I just hope that these playoffs, and I know I'm now going off on this way tangent, I hope these playoffs are just somehow very lucrative so that they don't have any CBA issues, because there could potentially be some.
Well, the one good thing of this, it sucks everything that's going on with baseball and everything like that. The same thing. I love going to see the Mets when they come out here to LA. Dodger Stadium is still cool to go check out anyway. I want to go. So I'll come out to LA and we'll go. And dude, because it's still one of those.
Add that to the travel list.
LA's already on the sports
swing out to
travel
California.
list.
We'll pick up Scotty. Then we'll go to Minnesota. We'll hang out with Chico, and then we'll go to Toronto, and then Scotty we'll just all separate that way.
No. Then we'll go back to Jersey and have a podcast at
Tavern on the Rocks in
Rockland,
New Jersey.
Yeah, see, a big one cross country. Cross country. Hell's bells. I forgot what the hell I was going to say.
I don't know, but Jalen, my playoff prediction is right now. I just want to see it happen. And I know your team, because we could see you're a Ranger fan. We know your team is in it. But listen, I just want to see hockey back in a safe environment where we can enjoy it and sit back and be like, this is cool. And then eventually see the Stanley Cup get raised and be like, nobody got sick. All right, let's rock and roll. Yep. Life is coming back to, in hockey terms, normalcy. So listen, I don't care. I just want to see it. I want to see it done right and see it done safe.
Yeah, what I was going to say real quick with MLB, going through this, if they don't play a season, hey, that's more for the NHL to try and grab some extra fans, because they're going to have a really cool tournament-style playoff, which is going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully they can, maybe convert some fans over.
And this is a great situation for the NHL to do that, which is kind of why it's a part of the reason why it's a bummer the Devils aren't in this playoffs. Everyone's going to be so ready for sports to come back that I have a feeling that everyone's going to watch everything that's available, and you're going to gain a whole lot of new fans, which the Devils are going to miss out on. But I think that the league will gain a lot of new support due to the fact that the way it's stayed. I don't even know if dates have come out yet, but I know the NBA starts real late. And MLB does 31st of July for NBA. I don't know if the NHL has a date yet. I don't know if they have to still. I don't know if they have to figure out travel in between the countries first. But if the NHL can get,
I thought I read that that was already starting to be worked on, because there are some NBA players too that are abroad as well.
Well, that would be good.
An overwhelming majority, though, of NHL players, obviously overseas right now.
Yeah, and
it's going to be. there's gonna be this window of opportunity for the NHL to showcase its stuff, and not just to showcase its stuff, but to showcase the best part of the season. Because usually when the playoffs are on, the NBA playoffs are in high gear. Major League Baseball is back. There's other distractions, and
Nothing
there's no
beats playoff hockey.
I know.
I love it.
And they
Nothing.
have
I
an
love that
opportunity
first
to really bring more
round.
people in.
But it's like 4 games going on at once, and you can just flip
That's
back
the
and forth
best.
between everything. Oh, dude, I
Mhm.
love that.
The only bummer is like when when your team is not in the playoffs, it's like in any other sport except for football, because football is like universal and
You
whatever.
just find X
When
Devils
you-
to root for.
Yeah, either that or I'll find like when the Caps were going on their run, it was super fun because I wanted to see Ovechkin win a cup, and it was like that was one of those things where you're rooting for Ovechkin to win a cup, and when he won it, you're like, you did not disappoint at all, Mr. Ovechkin, did you? You jumped into a fountain with the cup. You did like all these crazy. You went on a bender for like 3.5 months and celebrated the way you should celebrate. Thank you very much. And that was like, going into each playoffs, if like the Devils aren't in it, like you try to root for whoever you can root for, or at least it's just entertaining.
Yeah.
I could watch a a Calgary and I don't know, Vancouver series, and I don't know nearly as much about those two teams as I know about my own or anybody in the Metropolitan Division, but I'd still watch it because it's so fast-paced, entertaining, hard-hitting. You like hockey? You like hockey? You love this stuff.
And
Johnny
freaking
Hockey's
great.
out there in Calgary.
And with it being in the summer, don't have to worry about
wear
getting
shorts.
up early the next day if it's a 3, 4, 5 overtime game.
Oh yeah,
Those are
Beaut.
the things that I root for, is to see it go to 2, 3, 4 overtimes. I love those games. I know the hockey gets very sloppy towards the end, but that's kind of what makes it all special, because it becomes that random fourth liner that hasn't played a shift in like an hour and a half of the game, but goes out there and somehow bobbles one in and just becomes the hero for 24 hours. Like I love seeing that stuff. And to kind of
It's
go
so
with
tense.
that Vancouver versus Calgary, I love watching those series because I never see those teams play. And I love seeing the different atmospheres from the different West Coast teams that I don't get to see very often. Like I loved watching the Winnipeg series because that was such a massively rabid fan base, that they that it was fun to see. It was fun to watch. So it's I can't wait.
You know what I like? I like watching the Winnipeg Jets at home for a playoff game where they play Top Gun. Yeah, play the Top Gun.
yeah.
Oh, the Top Gun theme. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just stretches and stretches, and you see the smoke, and they're playing like the airplane turbine, sound, the jet sound. Shh.
You know what's funny? So Joe Stanislaw, our good friend, Jersey Joe.
We stand.
You know who we haven't heard from in a while? Tim Clark Callahan. Where the hell are you? Damn it. Get out of where. Listen, you're in quarantine. You're like us. You have nothing going on. You better be tuning in. Anyways.
Oh, Tim.
We miss him. We miss him dearly. And I hope he's okay. But Joe brought up a great point about Yager wearing number 68 to kind of like go back to something we were talking about before. And he said that he wore because he had a family member in a Czechoslovakia uprising in 1968. And that's super freaking cool. And I love like little stories about that. Just like for example, the Winnipeg Jets actually got their name because of the New York Jets. So the owner of the Winnipeg Jets, when they were originally a part of the NHL, he went to the owner of the New York Jets and asked him permission to use the name the Jets because he was a huge Jets fan. But like it's stuff like that. So when we were talking to Phil last week, it was like those little stories. And Scotty, dude, I was so bummed that you weren't here because he talked about partying with he partied with Pantera in 1999.
Yeah.
With Vinny and Dime, with the Crown Royal Shea Pool. Oh my God! The whole time I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, man, Scotty would have loved this story.
Oh
But,
yeah,
yeah.
down at the clubhouse down in Texas. Oh yeah, I've had a night or two down there.
Oh, sorry there, big shot.
I'm just saying, it's a lot of fun. Those are nights that you remember.
Oh, looks like we're having to go out with Scotty at some point.
Yeah,
It sounds like
exactly.
it'll be a great time.
Oh yeah.
Hey, what do you
Well,
remember?
guys,
I remember fourth grade.
Guys, just to let you know, I'm monitoring our internet feeds. Beer Baron and Scotty are tied for first place for the Rich Man Internet Award.
Hey.
I'm third, and George Guy's fourth.
Yeah, that's backwards
okay.
internet for you.
Yeah, but not by much. I'll send you guys the stats. But anyway,
Just in case anyone was wondering out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Inside information. Remember, we're talking about like the things you want to know if you're a fly on the wall. You want to know what our internet situation is like.
Yeah, that's the
Same guy
extent of
30
the
minutes
exciting
ago.
conversations.
Weren't you the same guy 30 minutes ago that said you didn't want to know all these stories, and now
I know I do. Now, no. I don't want to know. No. Okay.
are you nosy?
When it,
Yeah,
yeah, of course.
I think someone's
Look at
a
this
little
thing.
gossip. Someone's a little gossip over here.
No. What I like to
I don't
find
wanna
out
know.
like the
Tell
thing.
me. I won't tell anybody.
Scott, it's called CYA, man. I'm telling you, I don't want to know anything, and meanwhile, I'm like, tell me more. What else? You go on. But I mean, that stuff. What I'm talking about is like how transactions happen behind the scenes, like how I don't know. The things I don't want to know about is like that everyday crap. Like you don't need to know like, so and so doesn't like the coach, so let's start talking bad about him and try to get him out. It's like, who cares? Like, I want to know at the end of it, like what happens, but at the same time, like you don't need to be in the know about every single little detail all the time. Or maybe we do. Maybe you've changed my mind.
Guaranteed,
hear
if someone comes
anything-
with a story, I'll be like, tell me.
Tell me more.
Listen, if I hear anything when I eventually become the e-bug, I'll let you know.
Yeah, seriously. See, that's a different story. Yeah, like you have to be like, man, so and so was so funny, or so and so is kind of mean. I got pushed into a hot tub.
I want to know who. I want to know who's our arch nemesis.
They hid my shoe that I used for kicking in the snow. It's
I
an
think
Adam
that
Sandler
we'll
reference.
use you as we'll just plant the bug on you. Like we'll do one of those hide it in plain sight, and like to all of us, to all of us will be like, right, the e-bug, yeah, like
Yeah.
no one will know. Just hide it in the blocker somewhere or something like that,
No, there's my new set's got plenty of places we can tuck something in there.
Just a camera. Just like an old like camcorder just jammed into the shoulder pad. Why is your one shoulder like abnormally large?
No.
clicking?
I'll do two, kind of like the old Garth Snow chest protectors that went up to his ears.
There's
You know
a
that
red
chest
light.
protector is illegal. No, it's not. Is your chest protector making a buzzing noise? No.
No. Why does it keep
man.
clicking? What's that other voice on the other side? Make sure you get closer. I need to see all the details. Something seems odd about this. Listen, I love the fact that we opened the show with something very serious and as we should have, and we addressed something that we should have, and it's something that we all believe very strongly in. And the fact that we're able to kind of sit back and laugh. If you ever want a picture of 4 dudes sitting around a bar stool and a typical normal conversation, this is pretty much what you get here. But the one thing that I'm looking forward to when they do resume hockey and they do resume this playoff setup is just how things unfold. So we're going to have to root against Arizona and we're going to have to root for the Canucks because we want Vancouver to win and we want Arizona to lose. And that way we will end up with 3 picks in the first round. So
I'll take it.
let's make this happen.
I hear music.
I hear music. Does that mean, Sam, will you
I hear
take us out?
Yeah,
The
take you
hills
guys
are
out.
alive with music. Oh, Lord.
We'll be back next
right.
week.
Go ahead, Sam. I couldn't stand the awkward silence. Go, Sam. Finish it up.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? We haven't had done one of these kind of podcasts in a while because we've had virtual visitors, in the virtual studio.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was kind of nice.
Live, by the way. Live.
Yeah,
Don't forget that, everybody out
Yeah, we're always
We're
live. Live. We do it live.
Pre-record.
It's not fake live.
Yeah.
No, it's for
definitely-
real live. Live.
Come hang
And
out
if you
with
don't
us.
believe it's live, go back to the Cam Jansen interview or go back to a few interviews where some of our guests
Just hit
have
us up on Facebook. Hit us up on
have
Facebook.
talked
We all-
openly and freely and might have dropped an F-bomb here or there.
Oh, yeah.
We might not do it.
Grant Marshall. Grant Marshall, too,
And-
right?
Yeah.
Grant Marshall's the winner. He's the leader in that
Oh,
race.
Oh, yeah.
And listen,
It's live.
Live.
Live right
Live.
now.
Always live.
Live.
And in your living room or your bathroom if you're dropping a deuce and just want to bring your phone with you, go ahead.
People do that.
We want to
Hey,
thank
who
everybody.
doesn't?
Yeah, who doesn't?
We want to
really?
thank everybody tuning in today. Want to thank Nova Product Design. I'll tell you guys what they're doing behind the scenes because very soon we may be able to take you, the fans, for some questions live with us on video. So that will prove that we're really live once you have you live in our Primetime Radio virtual studios. May happen next week.
Yes.
We don't know.
Yeah, we're
Till
excited.
next time.
We're going to put some Devil's Jeopardy together.
Ooh. I'll dress like Alex Trebek.
Whoa. Ooh.
That's like Burt Reynolds, Norm Macdonald style, though.
Yeah. It's a big hat. It's bigger than normal.
Someone's got to do Sean Connery. Shorts guy, you got to do a
Name-
Sean Connery.
I did a Johnny Carson. I just went into Johnny Carson for some odd reason. Yes, that's going to be a weird one. Lord. Yeah. Oh, gosh. All right.
Till next
Terry
time.
Ferguson.
Let's go Devils.
A big hat. Nobody's ever seen a big hat.